The detention cell hummed with the low thrum of the starship's engines as Felix pressed his back against the cold metallic wall. 3 days had passed since the Valorian Empire captured his reconnaissance vessel near the Andromeda Belt, and he still couldn't figure out why they were keeping him alive. Most human prisoners didn't last beyond interrogation. The Valorians had little use for what they considered an inferior species mammals, who breathed oxygen, blood red, and died far too easily in the vacuum of space. Yet here Felix sat, unharmed, waiting. The door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. 2 guards entered first, their chitinous armor gleaming under the harsh lights, followed by a figure that made Felix's breath catch in his throat. Princess Amelia of House Valorian stood at the threshold, her crystalline skin reflecting prismatic light across the cell. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with the characteristic sharp angles and translucent quality that marked her species. Her eyes, those strange, multifaceted eyes, swept across the room before settling on him. Felix had seen images of Valorian royalty before, but nothing prepared him for her presence. She moved with predatory grace, each step deliberate, calculated. When she was 3 feet away, she stopped. Then she did something that made both guards stiffen in alarm. She inhaled deeply. Her eyes widened, and Felix watched as something raw and unguarded flickered across her alien features. When she spoke, her voice carried the melodic quality of her native tongue, but the translation implant in Felix's ear rendered it in perfect English. "This is my former husband's scent." The guards exchanged confused glances. Felix felt his pulse quicken. "Your Highness, I think there's been a mistake." Silence. Amelia stepped closer, and Felix caught the faint luminescence emanating from her skin. "Humans all smell different to us. Each of you carries a unique chemical signature. I would know this scent anywhere." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I would know him anywhere." Felix's mind raced. He'd never met Valorian royalty before this mission. He'd certainly never been married to one. But as he watched the princess's expression shift between grief and something that looked like desperate hope, a memory surfaced, one he'd buried deep. 3 years ago, the human colony on Kepler 4 to be. The night he'd pulled an injured alien from a crashed vessel. Felix had been a field medic then, before joining military intelligence. He'd treated the aliens' wounds, kept them hidden for 2 weeks while they healed, and sent them off-world with falsified documents. The alien had never given their name. They'd only said they were running from an arranged marriage, from a life they didn't choose. "You." Felix breathed. "The refugee from Kepler. That was you." Amelia's eyes glistened with something Felix didn't think Valorians were capable of: tears. "I told myself I'd forgotten, that those 2 weeks hiding in your medical bay were a fever dream. But I never forgot your scent. Humans produce this compound when you experience strong emotion, phenylethylamine. Your scientists call it. You were frightened for me, protective. It saturated everything around us." She turned to her guards. "Leave us. Post outside." "Your Highness." Now, the guards retreated, though their reluctance was palpable. When the door sealed shut, Amelia sagged slightly, her regal bearing cracking. "They dragged me back," she said. "My family found me, forced me to marry Lord Catherine of the 5th House." It was. She paused, searching for words. "A strategic alliance. Nothing more. When he died in battle 6 months later, I thought I was free. But a widow princess has her uses. They've been trying to marry me off again ever since." Felix stood slowly, hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. "Why tell me this? Why risk it? Because in 3 days, you'll be executed as a spy. Because in 5, I'll be married to Commander Thex, who believes humans should be exterminated like vermin. Because I am tired." "Felix, yes. I remember your name. I am so very tired of pretending I don't remember what kindness feels like." The weight of her words settled between them like a physical thing. Felix had always known his chances of leaving this ship alive were minimal. What he hadn't expected was this connection, recognition, the echo of a moment 3 years past where he'd simply done what he thought was right. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Amelia moved closer still, until she was near enough that Felix could see the delicate crystalline structures beneath her translucent skin. "Tell me you remember too. Tell me those 2 weeks meant something, even if it was just a beings finding shelter in each other's company." Tell me I didn't imagine how you looked at me not as a Valorian, not as the enemy, but as someone worth saving. Felix's throat tightened. I remember. You were terrified but trying so hard to hide it. You told me about your home world's aurora, how it sang in frequencies humans can't hear. You asked me why I became a medic, and I told you about my sister who died because our colony didn't have proper medical facilities. We talked for hours. And yes, Amelia, it meant something. She closed her eyes. Thank you. But I don't understand what happens now when Amelia opened her eyes again. The vulnerability was gone, replaced by steel determination. Now, I make a choice I should have made 3 years ago. Now, I stop running. She pulled a small device from her robes. This contains access codes to the ship's escape pods. Deck 7, Section 9B. There's a pre-programmed route to neutral territory. You're helping me escape. I'm giving you a chance. What you did for me once, I do for you now. Perhaps in another life, in another universe where politics and prejudice don't exist. We could have. She trailed off. Felix took the device. Come with me. I can't. My disappearance would mean war. My people would hunt you across the galaxy. But you, Felix, you can disappear. You're good at it. You hid me perfectly. And you? What happens to you? Amelia smiled, sad and beautiful. I stopped pretending. I refuse the marriage. I face whatever consequences come. But I do it knowing that somewhere out there, someone remembers me not as Princess Amelia of House Valorian, but as the frightened refugee who found kindness in the most unlikely place. Felix wanted to argue, to find another way, but the pragmatist in him knew she was right. He moved toward the door, then stopped. If things were different, I know, Amelia interrupted gently. I know, as Felix slipped into the corridor, following the route Amelia had programmed. He carried with him the weight of what could have been and the sharp, bittersweet knowledge that sometimes the most human thing, the thing that made his species remarkable, despite their physical limitations, was the ability to choose compassion over survival, connection over fear. Behind him, in the detention cell, Princess Amelia of House Valorian stood alone, her skin glowing softly in the darkness, breathing in the fading scent of a kindness she would never forget. And for the first time in 3 years, she smiled.